Time now for the markets with Leighton. And Leighton, you say that we've had a week now to digest the combined October-November USDA crop reports.
Very much anticipated, and the big surprise applied to both corn and soybeans, and that is our lead story in the markets this week. Demand for both of those crops is projected to be much stronger than expected. Meanwhile, rice analysts feel there may be keen competition for long grain, and cattle traders say cow-calf operators are in the driver's seat for now. Yes, it was demand, not production, that grabbed the headlines after that recent crop and supply demand report. Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley discussed the new numbers for corn and beans on Tuesday. Well, let's talk about these much anticipated reports from November 8th. Kind of recap the corn situation for us first.
Well, we're still looking at a record crop. Just under 14 billion bushels of corn is expected to be produced. Yield estimate got increased from 155 back in September to 160 is the current estimate for national corn yield. So that's going to result in a bumper crop. The surprise came about with the demand. A lot more use from a feed perspective and from exports. We saw increases there, and that pulled carryover below expectations.
And that was really what caught the market off guard, was that demand turnabout.
That's correct. Harvested acres were reduced a little bit, so production was actually smaller than expected, but because of the increase in demand, that pulled down carryover more than expected, and as a result, we saw a big jump in price that day.
And before we leave corn, as far as Mississippi, a record yield is being projected?
That's correct. 180 bushel current projection for Mississippi yield. That will be a record if it does come to fruition.
All right, what about soybeans? Recap that situation for us.
Not as near a big a surprise as corn, but still we saw harvested acres decreased slightly. Yield was bumped to 43 bushel an acre from a national perspective, and so 3.2 billion bushels projected to be produced for soybeans, carryover of 170, slightly below expectations, similar to corn, and so both of those were sailing that day.
So, and as far as soybeans, with the demand kind of being increased, that kind of neutralized the other side of the report, so to speak.
That's correct. With both these crops, demand was up, and so that's always good news. And you're right, that did neutralize a little bit of the higher production as a result of the larger yield.
But no projected record as far as Mississippi and soybeans.
That's correct. 43 bushel an acre. Record was 45 a couple of years ago. So, or actually, I think it was last year. And so, no record there. But still, we're very close to that record.
And I assume, as far as soybeans leading this demand, is still China, or probably will be China as far as who's buying them.
That's correct. Soybean meal going to China for supplement their livestock production is where a lot of that growth is coming from.
The USDA report added 50 cents on both ends of the average farm price for rice, this according to the publication The Rice Advocate. Analysts there continue to think the long grain crop is short and that there will be some keen competition for rice stocks as the year progresses. Our trivia quiz this week concerns the Mississippi dairy industry. Here is the question for you. What was the top milk producing county in the state in 2012? Is the answer Lincoln County, or Walthall, or Marion, or Marshall? I'll tell you at the end of the markets. The projections for corn and soybeans in those latest USDA reports certainly has the attention of the livestock sector here in mid-November. Analyst Don Roos thinks the cow-calf operators in the beef sector are in the driver's seat.
A lot of these markets, the feeder cattle and the cattle and even the hogs, so dependent on the grain market because we have a grain risk premium in the market, and if the market starts to go down, maybe we take some of this risk premium out and we change some of these levels. That's a little bit of a danger. But the cow-calf operator, he's in the driver's seat. I mean, we just don't have numbers. We have to rebuild the herd. We're starting to do that. Numbers are going to stay tight. It take a couple of years, 3 years. So I would say 160 on the downside on feeder cattle. You're probably going to see a lot of feedlot interest. You get up around 170, you're probably going to run into some resistance. But feedlots want to keep the capacity pretty full. So that is a good thing to help the feeder cattle.
Before our feature story, let's check the trivia answer for this week. And the correct choice is C. In 2012, Marion County was the top milk producer in the state.